We are live on Two Guys Talking Sports. Wild weekend in college football for the teams that we cover, especially.
Couldn't have been better. Clemson lost.
Yep.
Gamecocks won.
Exactly. We'll start out with Clemson. They played first, ladies first, so we'll start out talking about them.
We want to be sympathetic to the losers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you can't win them all.
No.
Can't win them all.
Overall, though, I thought Clemson looked good.
Yeah. Like fandom aside,
yes.
I think we kind of said about South Carolina last week against Georgia. Do you enjoy moral victories? I don't think Clemson will enjoy it like we do,
right.
Because historically over the past decade they're expected to win those games. I mean, but outside a couple boneheaded, I would say, play calls,
yeah,
Clemson dominated that
Honestly,
game.
they looked like the better team to me.
Did.
They looked better than Florida State. Florida State did not lead the entire regular, regulation. They didn't lead at all until overtime when they won the game.
Yeah.
Other than, like I said, boneheaded calls, Clemson was the better team.
Yeah. And I guess that's the big thing is that people were saying on social media was, why are you running that screen pass on 3rd and 1?
Yeah.
And I guess looking at both sides of it, that's a decision they should not have put the quarterback in.
Right.
But that's also a position the quarterback should make the right call.
Yeah.
So you can look at it from both sides.
I agree. You would expect it to. I mean, they obviously have faith in their quarterback to make the right decision.
Yeah.
He should make the right decision, but also at the same time, you're supposed to be the best offensive coordinator in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they touted you as.
He's the hot item last year.
Right, and then in the most critical moments is when you make boneheaded decisions. You have one of the best running backs in the nation. Mm-hmm. It's 3rd and 1.
Yep.
Give it to him twice if need be.
Yeah.
Just don't even, like I said, don't even put it in the quarterback's hands at that point.
Well,
Give it to two of the best running backs in the league. Put one of them in front of them and lead block and just get the yard.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it came down to coaching, I think, more than the actual players on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both, you could say. I mean, it's your job at the end of the day as a coach is to put your team in the best position to win.
Right.
And I saw somebody tweet this. I saw it earlier where, it was a Clemson fan that said this. He felt like Dabo wanted to put it in the hands of the kicker for that story.
He wanted to placate to the story.
I mean, they talked for half an hour about the kicker story yesterday.
And look, he came out and he was making the kicks.
Yeah. I mean, he did his job except the last one.
Except the last one, whenever the most pressure's on. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's tough. And, at the end of the day, I kind of feel bad for the kicker. I mean, man, he was just trying to go to work next week. Instead, Dabo pulls him off his couch trying to build a storyline, and now the kid's embarrassed. I'm sure he's gotten, a lot of junk talked about him.
Showed his family.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, sometimes it just seems like they make some bad decisions. And I saw a tweet earlier from Matt Connolly. I think he pretty much covers Clemson pretty heavily.
I know he used to be like, I know he used to be like the beat writer for him. But I think he does something exclusively for
in their last 8 Power 5 games. Clemson is 3-5 in their last Power 5 games, and he made a comment that Dabo keeps saying, that there's these miscues or like weird situations that happen that causes these losses. And like Matt Connolly said, I mean, at some point it's not fluky. It's just you're not paying attention to details.
Agree.
Like you're not detail oriented.
Yeah.
When it matters the most.
Yeah.
And so. Dabo's kind of got to stop making these excuses and just say, hey, look, this is on us. We lost this game.
Yeah. And, and you can look at different ways to say, like, this and this happened. When there's just some stuff that is out of your control. Right. Like, may it be, they punt it and it just takes a funny hop or something like that. But when you're talking, like, play executions – yes, that ultimately will fall on the coach staff and the players. You can't leave that to chance.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think Clemson, like we said at the beginning, they look good.
Yeah.
It's hard for them, I'm sure, to take any kind of positives from it, but you kind of have to look at it the same way that we did with South Carolina, Georgia, that Clemson looked like the better team. I mean, they honestly they look like a top 25 team if you're going to say that Florida State's number 4.
Yeah.
I mean, they played well. They didn't make any huge mistakes. It was just in the critical moments.
Yeah, Klubnik didn't play that bad yesterday.
No, he was 25 of 38, 283 yards and 1 touchdown. Not the most, not the highest completion percentage. You'd like to see him complete some more of these. And it seems like that they're trying to basically use that extension of the run game. A lot of bubble screens, a lot of, tosses, just halfback passes, stuff like that. So, they're setting him up, and he did make the big throws when he needed to. I mean, there was a lot of downfield throws that he made that looked really good.
Yeah, give credit to Clemson's receivers. That's
and they were playing without their best receiver as well.
Yeah. Will Shipley scored it. I didn't realize this, but going into yesterday, excuse me, Will Shipley didn't have any touchdowns.
Yeah, that was the whole beef between him and C.J. Spiller last week, is that they get down to like the 2-yard line and they pull Shipley out, and he's like, "Man, look, I'm getting you here, and then you take me out. I don't have a rushing touchdown all season. Obviously he got one yesterday, but
he got a receiver.
Him and Spiller got into it in that game.
But also, and it sucks, but I mean, Maffa's he's no slouch.
Good. Yeah,
and if he's your so-called bruiser, whereas like Shipley's your more athletic type, you're probably going to use him in those situations, which it stinks. Right. Like if you're just looking at it from a statistical perspective. Right. I mean, the Panthers used to do this all the time when Mike Tolbert was there. He wouldn't be on the field, but then they get in the 2-yard line, and guess what? And he'd punch it in.
Right.
Fantasy people loved him.
And the thing is, you have these running backs that everybody say are great, and on 3rd and 1, you didn't use them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's really irking Clemson fans today, is that like they were the better team yesterday.
Yeah.
They led the entire game until overtime, and then you get a chance on 3rd and 1 to continue, and you call a screen pass or an RPO, but hand the ball off.
Was that in the overtime or was that in
that was in overtime, because the next one was the batted ball on 4th down. The game was over.
Okay, I couldn't. For some reason, I thought that sequence of events was in regulation.
No, that was the last two plays. Was your 3rd and 1, just hand the ball off, get the 1st down, and continue on. Instead, you lose yardage, and then you have to throw the ball again.
Yeah. Because even if you don't get it, like you still have another chance, but it's like
if you go 3rd and 1 and you get half a yard, run it again and get basically the way that it works now is you just push, get them in there and push and get the 1st down. Throwing it there just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, and like I said, that goes back to Klubnik obviously didn't make the right decision because it showed Dabo. Like afterwards, he's like 1 yard. Like you could read his lips. He was saying 1 yard.
Yeah.
So clearly, I don't think they wanted him, but that's what you get when you have.
If you give them that option, and you can't fully blame the quarterback. Should he make the right call? Yes, but you gave him the option.
But he's still inexperienced.
Right.
I mean, technically, this is
less than 10 starts.
He didn't start any games last year. Right?
No.
No. Okay. He did play some last year,
but no starts.
He did start the bowl game. He didn't start the bowl game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still a learning quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still young.
You're the best offensive coordinator in the nation. That falls on you.
Yeah.
And then it also falls on the head coach to know, like, okay, he's calling RP. No, run the ball.
Yeah.
You tell your coordinator, this is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're running the football. Put it in our best player's hand and let him get the yard. You can't keep passing the blame. You can't keep saying that it's these fluky things. Like at some point,
there's nothing fluky about that loss.
Yeah, at some point it was just bad decision making as a whole.
Yeah.
From the top down.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you can look at maybe some missed calls, but I mean, Clemson got away with a couple calls that weren't called. That seemed to me pretty clear that it was pass interference towards the end of the game.
For sure.
I know the tight end had
got away with a toning call.
And I don't think you should call that toning because I don't know. Like, I'm just a firm believer in letting them play as long as it's within reason and it's not like grabbing them by the face mask and like doing that.
It definitely wasn't toning the way that I see toning, but by the letter of the law,
taunting.
That was taunting. It should
Yeah.
have been a penalty. I don't care that it wasn't.
And I feel like you can call pass interference on just about any,
For sure.
especially like if the
You
DB,
could call
if the
holding
DB,
on every play
if
if you wanted to.
if the DB's playing up on the receiver
Yeah.
and they do like a quick pass, you could probably call pass interference
Right.
9 times out of 10.
Just like you could probably call holding on every play.
Yeah.
You know, if you got down to the nitty gritty and watched every little
Yeah.
aspect of it, you could. But
Yeah.
again, I think that Clemson should, if you're a Clemson fan, take some positives from this.
Yeah.
You're progressively getting better.
Yeah.
You know, the play calling for the whole of the game was pretty good. Klubnik, you know, in the entirety of the game played pretty good.
Yeah.
They looked like they were the better team than the number 4 team in the nation. They get to go on the road this week against Syracuse, and that's always a tough place for Clemson to play. Is
Yeah,
in that dome.
I agree. Yeah.
Syracuse is 4-0, but the opponents that they've beaten, there's not
Yeah.
nothing to write home about.
No.
To say like they're substantially better than
Exactly.
Clemson.
Yeah.
I mean, the FPI is showing 55% chance for Syracuse to win this game, but I think that Clemson's a better team and will probably win.
I don't. Is Clemson better? Yes.
Yeah.
I think yesterday showed maybe more that Florida State's not who we thought they were.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe that could be just a pure overreaction because it's an away
Could
game.
be. It's an away game. You're going to get, when you're the number 4 team,
Yeah.
you're going to get everybody's best shot.
Yeah.
It's also Clemson is scratching and clawing, trying to remain what they have been for the past decade or more.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to tell. I think that Clemson's a good football team. I think that they should probably beat Syracuse, but
You never know.
if they lose to Syracuse, things could start going downhill
I
quickly.
mean, you look at Clemson's last away game. Didn't really work out that well.
Right.
But like I said, hopefully, they take some positives from the game yesterday and use that against Syracuse.
Yeah. I mean, it's not getting any easier for Clemson. I mean,
Which
honestly,
you're
looking
not-
at their
You're
schedule.
not used to saying that.
Right. I mean, looking at their schedule upcoming, they got 4-0 Syracuse on the road. They could come back home to a currently 3-1 Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest got beat pretty bad by Georgia Tech
Yeah.
yesterday.
They're still, 3-1. And then they got to go on the road to an unbeaten Miami.
Yep.
Then they got 3-1 NC State. Always a tough game for them. And
Yeah.
it's at NC State. It's always tough when they, travel
Yeah.
there. Notre Dame, who's, could have
Lost a
arguably.
heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Lost a heartbreaker.
They could
last
still
night.
be, top 5 if they,
Yeah.
get 11 men on the field. I mean, it's not getting any easier here. I mean, they still got North Carolina coming up at the end of the year.
And them Gamecocks.
And the Gamecocks are playing good offensively
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
That defense was bad. So before we talk about South Carolina, I'm going to go with Clemson beating Syracuse this week. I think they try to get back on the right path. It's going to be a tough game, though. It's not going to be a blowout.
Circle back to me at the end of the show.
Clemson right now is a 6.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pick it at the end.
I don't know. I'm still thinking on that one.
Speaking of the Gamecocks, they get the victory last night, 37-30, covered the spread.
I wish we had like a screen we could put on here to show like my heart rate
Yeah.
during the games. 'Cause they stress me out. They
Started
stress me
out great.
Couldn't start out any better.
Yeah, you were up 14-0. And then I don't know what happened, but we had 0 secondary last night.
Well,
it was
think,
awful.
and I think they even said it during like the telecast is that like our safeties were basically linebackers the way
Right.
they were playing up, and those the receivers for Mississippi State just had no problem getting behind
Toasting
our
them.
DBs,
Yeah.
and there was no help.
487 passing yards they gave up. Only 1 touchdown pass, and they did get an interception. But, I mean, they were getting cooked all night long, and it kept Mississippi State in the game. Couldn't have asked for a better game from the offense, I don't think.
Yeah.
And,
Guess what? We used a running back.
We used a running back finally. Didn't start Anderson, but once he got in there, he basically was the feature back of the game.
Well, and I think DK's fumble was
Right,
like
it
the
didn't
nail
help.
in the coffin.
Yeah.
Which stinks because it's like he's busted his butt to do whatever the coach staff wants him to do, but like you can
You gotta
clearly
play the better
you
player.
can tell the difference in the run game and he had some good runs,
Right, for sure.
But like, and he's just not going to be our every down running back,
Right. Continue to use him at running back.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to be the feature back. Mario Anderson had 26 carries, 88 yards,
1 touchdown.
and a touchdown.
And that was a big run, the touchdown.
Oh, for sure. But just looking at him and the way that he runs the ball, he's a running back. He's a true, through and through running back.
And it gives our offensive line some confidence.
Right, for sure.
Well, like you could go back to when Marcus Lattimore, his freshman year. Our offensive line wasn't the best, but you know what? He's good at finding the spaces,
Right.
He's still moving those legs after contact.
Yeah.
And that, like, the offensive linemen feed off that. Going back to – you go ahead, I'm sorry.
The big thing for me watching Anderson run is that, again, he has the vision. He can see the hole. There was a lot of times when before he saw where the hole was before he ever got the ball. And you can see that he's making the cuts as soon as he does receive, the handoff.
Yeah.
Where DK is getting the ball and then looking for the hole. Mm-hmm. And that's a big difference for me and it helps the line out because sometimes if you do, maybe the hole's supposed to be here, but it ends up being, a little bit to the left or something like that. If he go ahead and sees that, it helps them out as well.
It's almost like DK was just going in the hole he's supposed to.
Right.
Whereas like Anderson can see what the defense
He's
is giving him.
looking to where the hole is opening up.
Yeah. And guess what? Having a successful run game helps our passing game.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you don't have a rushing game,
they're just going to sit
running
back.
game. Yeah, and our schedule doesn't get any easier.
No,
and we have to be able to have our passing game.
Yeah,
and it starts with having a good run game.
It does. Technically, the stat sheet says we ran for 144 yards as a team. You lost 11 yards on that as a sack, and college football's different from the NFL. In the NFL, they don't count sacks against your rushing yards.
I think that's dumb.
That they count it against or that they don't?
Yeah, they count it against.
Yeah, I mean, because that's not a rushing play most of the times. Why is it counted against your rushing yards?
Yeah.
So technically, we ran the ball for more than 150 yards last night.
Which is good.
Yeah, threw it for 288. I mean, Rattler just keeps looking
He's just
phenomenal.
so efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, and, hand up, I wasn't a big fan of the OC hire. We finished last year with some good momentum. You like, as a fan, you always want to hire the best coach available, even though sometimes that may not always work out.
Right.
But Logan, however you pronounce his last name, was, not a no name, but in the collegiate level, he was.
Yeah.
It didn't know much about him. All we knew was all his stops in the NFL were
short-lived.
And failed. And it's not so much on him. It's like, the head coach.
He wasn't given a lot of talent to where he was at.
The head coach he was with wasn't a productive head coach, so like he wasn't there long. But at least statistically, passing-wise, our offense is probably leading the SEC.
They are. I believe so. I mean, and the play calling, it looks like, and what Rattler said after the game when they asked him about it is that it's just simple. He makes it simple for them to, and it's still, it's not simple as in, just simple plays. It's just he makes it simple to that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. There's not anything confusing going on where Satterfield's was, you could have 10 different things to do on any given play.
It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube before you hike the ball.
Right.
But looking at the stats, you sent this to me on Twitter, but actually I had already had it saved. So our passing offense under Rattler and Logan's this season, number 1 in yards per game, 340.
Yep.
Number 1 in explosive passing plays, which is 40 yards or more.
Throwing the ball downfield.
Throwing the ball deep. We've got 7 of those. Number 1 in attempts per game. Completions were number 1 and number 2 in completion percentage.
Yeah. I mean, you're completing 75% of your passes.
And it seems like, and like you said, he made it simple, and you can definitely tell Spencer's way more comfortable this year.
And I feel like Spencer feels like he has more control of the offense too, or at least in his mind he has more control of it. And like I said, he's making the good play. He's not. The biggest thing is he's not just airing it out like he was at the beginning of last year, just trying to make something happen.
Or at the end of last week,
right?
Where he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, that was kind of we're just trying to come back.
I get it, but he was trying to force stuff, and it seems like now he's using his legs more, which we need to. If they're going to allow him to run the ball because he had a lot of space.
8 rushes.
He had a lot of space to run last night.
Yeah, he had 43 yards rushing.
So more than probably more than that.
Right,
with the stupid sacks.
Yeah. And the biggest thing for me too is not only the way that Rattler's playing, because he's playing at a phenomenal level right now. He looks like the guy that was promised out of high school, really.
Yeah.
You know what everybody always said he would be. If you're 4-0 right now, the way that he's playing, he's probably a Heisman contender.
And I won't say he should be, because like the quarterbacks that are up there are just ridiculous.
If you continue to win and he continues to play like this, he could be considered for sure.
He definitely deserves more respect than what he's getting.
Yeah.
Because and you can look at Connor Shaw's time at South Carolina. He just happened to be in the conference when these other great quarterbacks were there. But I think the one thing I love about Spencer people have these preconceived notions of him, like with the Netflix show he was in.
When he was in high school.
His time at Oklahoma, whatever you want to say it. He's definitely grown into a more mature person and a great leader.
Huge. And that was the point I was going to make, is that just the way that he talks. It's never about him. As soon as they ask him, at one point you were, 13-13, you were, hitting all your passes, he immediately talks about the receivers, talks about the line. He even mentioned that, hey, those 3 sacks, that was my fault. That's not on our line. They're playing phenomenal right now.
And another thing that, I don't know why this just popped in my head this year, and knock on wood, we haven't really had receivers drop balls.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
You probably got one of the best receivers right now, currently, in the nation, and Xavier Legette. I mean, he's
Marion County,
outside
South Carolina.
I mean, he is playing out of his mind right now. I mean, I didn't realize that he was that fast either. I mean, that first touchdown, he broke away, and I mean, he was gone.
Yeah, there wasn't no catching him.
No,
no catching him. But he's such a great athlete.
Yeah,
and it's nice that he's able to show what he's about. This year, and and I think that it's another testament to, in the day and age transfer portal, sometimes leave is not always the best solution.
Right.
And sometimes it is for people. But he stuck it out, and he's definitely made him some money so far this year.
Yeah, if he continues to play at the level that he is, I mean, he could go first round the way that he's playing.
But I mean, we utilized our tight ends a little bit more. Yep. Trey Knox got his first touchdown.
You saw a little bit more of Harbor, even though he didn't get the touches. You saw him on the field a little bit more. Get him out there.
Having that athlete, the defenses can't ignore him.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
like I said, we've got these athletes, and I know Beamer loves to say we've got to find a way to get them on the field. And like you said, you don't necessarily have to.
They don't have
give
to touch
them
the ball. Yeah,
but like I said, having them out there. They have to respect what he is.
And it also gives that player, like I said, get him out there.
Yeah.
Get him those reps, because no matter what you do in practice, you got to have it, those in-game reps to get that experience. And then, eventually start feeding the ball.
Yeah.
And, getting that stuff. So I'm glad to see that he got in there. I'm glad that we used, the tight ends more.
You know what I was happy to see? How pissed off Shane Beamer was about our defense at halftime.
Yeah, he was not happy with that, and nobody was.
So Brad Crawford from 24/7, Mississippi State was statistically speaking, in every category, in just about every category, Mississippi State had the worst offense.
Yes.
And their receiver, after 4 catches, had 208 yards. But again, I love that side of seeing that from Beamer, because, like I said, I love how happy-go-lucky he is. It kind of reminds me of Dabo a little bit. But at the end of the day, I want to see him pissed off.
Yeah.
I want to see him light a fire under these coaches' butts, because you can't ask much more from the offense.
Yeah, the offense gave you everything that they needed to do, and I think we had 6 scoring drives. The defense, if you can put that offense out there on the field more, you're going to win a lot of games. Yeah. And you don't want to get into shootouts. You just don't.
No. And our offense, I think, did a great job of keeping our defense off the field.
Right, yeah.
If anything, our defense didn't keep our offense off the field, which is okay.
Right, exactly.
But usually it's just the other way around. And, Clayton White needs to get it figured out.
For sure, because it's not getting any easier this week, taking on Tennessee, at Tennessee. Obviously, it's kind of hard to get a grasp on what Tennessee is. Yeah. They've won some big games, but they also lost, pretty poorly to Florida. It's hard to tell what Florida is. Yeah. I mean, Florida didn't look spectacular last night either. So, Tennessee, obviously, they're going to be wanting to get revenge for that embarrassment that we put on them last year.
And it's at night.
It's a night game.
That's tough.
In Neyland.
That's tough.
I think the offense is okay. I think that we're getting to the point where progressively gotten better. Line's gotten better. We finally looks like figured out how to use the running backs right. Yeah. Spencer's playing well. The defense just can't let us down.
No, and like I said, when you go up against, I know I just said Mississippi State had statistically the worst offense in all FCC. Obviously you're not going to stop them every time.
Yeah.
But it's you can't keep putting your offense in the position. This is one thing that plagues Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
His defense can never stop anybody.
Right.
And also another stat I saw after the Georgia game is we are second or third in the SEC in missed tackles.
Yeah.
Going into yesterday, we had 36 missed tackles. I don't understand that.
Right.
You pay these coaches millions of dollars. How can you not teach somebody to tackle?
And the thing that really irks me about the tackling is it's just a throw in the shoulder. We're just going to try and knock them down.
Yeah. And you
got to wrap up. I mean, that is just fundamental football.
Yeah. And I feel like you see a lot of that with DBs.
Yes.
But I mean, you saw it with some of the linebackers last night.
Yeah. The defense needs to be practicing right now. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, on Sunday. Get out there. We need to be practicing.
And I think they're practicing.
They need to have a really good week of practice this week. Mm-hmm. The defense has got to step it up. Clayton White got to figure something out.
Yeah, because, like I said, Tennessee's going to put up points.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
You're going to have to be able to make stops, get our offense on the field, let them continue rolling, doing what they've been doing here recently.
Yeah. I'd be less concerned if we were playing at home.
Definitely, for sure. I think you said 11-point favorite. Tennessee is.
I don't know what site that was off
it's not
of, but
on
it was
the ESPN app yet.
I don't think a lot of lines are out, but it was showing 11.5 points.
That'll probably be what it is, anywhere from 10 to 11. I think that South Carolina can win this game.
We have to stop Joe Milton's run game,
right?
Because he's a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to fall on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
He could throw the ball as well. I don't think that they're this huge deep threat like they were maybe last year when they had certain receivers, certain quarterbacks, but we just can't be getting burnt for 500 yards.
No, you can't.
You're not going to win games that way.
And I think they did better about it in the second half. Fitzgerald, Rodgers had some missed throws.
Yeah,
but that also goes to getting pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
We didn't get no pressure on the quarterback in the first half. And that was another thing Beamer was fired up about.
It was a combination of everything defensively, not enough pressure, and you let somebody sit back there, and then you get toasted, on the back end. I mean, it's just a combination of things.
And it's not like Mississippi State was just nickel and diming us.
No,
they were just using these deep balls. Yeah. And then And I get that's frustrating as a coach because it's, again, like I said earlier, you can't ask the offense to do much more. I mean, we scored 37 points last night. That should win you a game in SEC football.
And I really don't understand. I mean, Mississippi State, obviously, they weren't trying to run the ball. We only gave up 32 rushing yards. That's good, but when you give up 500 passing yards,
that's a stat you don't like to see.
Right?
They gave up 600 yards offense, but guess what? 587 was through the air.
Yeah,
and teams are going to take notice of that.
Right. So, but you definitely got to work on that. Back them up. If you need to, back those safeties up.
Yeah.
You just can't be getting toasted like that every play. Like you said, you're going to have those one-offs where you busted coverage, something like that. But when it's happening 7-8 times a game, that leads to disaster.
The same receiver who it was finished with
probably close to 300 yards.
He had 7 catches for 256.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did stop him in the second half. I mean, he had 95% of those numbers in the first half. So they did do better, but but that is a testament to getting more pressure and him not being
the thing
as
is,
comfortable
with a team like Tennessee, you can't have give them a whole half and then we figure it out. You gotta play good defense from the opening kick.
And obviously you're gonna have to make adjustments during the game. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But like going back to Georgia last week, it seems like we didn't make the adjustments on defense like we should have until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And you can't do that.
Yeah.
You gotta, like I said, you gotta play a clean game against these teams.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta play it from the opening kick. You can't
Yeah.
be having to make
Going
huge adjustments at halftime to try and stay in the game and stuff like that.
No fake extra points.
That was stupid as well. I don't.
It
You say you get the look that you want.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean,
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's the same look that they give you every extra point.
I mean, it worked. He was wide open. But
I think it was pointless though.
Yes, I think it was pointless too. But Kai Kroger can't just like airmail it 90 feet in the air.
No, definitely. If you're going to do it, you got to have execution.
Yeah.
But it was so pointless to do.
Yeah.
And to say, well, we got the look, that we liked or whatever. The look is the same look that you're going to get every extra point.
He said they saw
They're
that.
not lining up differently that you said, okay, well, let's throw a fake here.
Yeah, he said they had the same look against Furman and we didn't get it. I just when you know it's going to be a close game like that,
you can't just take points off the board.
Take your points.
Exactly.
Because that 1 point could have been a difference maker last night.
Yeah, for sure.
And luckily it didn't end up hurting us. Another stat I saw going into last night. So Shane Beamer is 9-0 at South Carolina when the Gamecocks are at least a 6-point favorite. We were 6.5-point favorite last
Covered.
night. The only home loss when favored was
Missouri, yeah.
Which was 4.5.
Right.
That
was pointless.
I did not like.
Let's not do it. And you can't do that kind of stuff against teams like Tennessee.
No.
You got away with it with Mississippi State. Just kick the ball.
Yeah,
take the point.
take the point.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're up by 30 points, sure. If you want to try it,
right. Yeah.
Do it. I don't care.
Exactly.
But when you need just about any point we can take,
take
let's just
take
get
the gimmies.
Just take the points.
So Tennessee, it's a night game. I think it's going to be tough for the Gamecocks to win this one. But it's a win that we need. If we play like...
Are you about to pick Tennessee?
No.
Look in the camera.
No.
And say,
I think
Stephen Johnson.
No, I think that the Gamecocks play better on defense this week. I think we continue to do what we're doing on offense. Hopefully find a way to get Harbor the ball at least once, see what he can do with it.
Give us a score prediction. Not a win.
31-28.
Wow.
31-28.
South Carolina. I think it'll be a South Carolina win, and I think it will be 38-35. I think it's going to come to a field goal.
So shootout.
Well, that's not really a shootout. I don't know.
A little high scoring.
Yeah. But I think it is.
I think we definitely have the offense to put up a lot of points.
We dropped 68 on them last year.
Yeah. But here's the thing that you can't do that we did. I think it was Tennessee the last time we played
started
there.
out hot.
2 years ago, or when was it that they got up 28 points in the first quarter against us, and then we slowly tried to come back.
That was Beamer's first year,
right? Yeah. You can't do that.
No,
and you can't do that in Neyland for sure. Like you got to start out hot, and you can't let them just snowball and run away with it.
But
early.
I think that's a testament to having a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, I'm going to go 31-28 Gamecocks. I'm going to go 35-21 Clemson beats Syracuse.
I think Clemson wins 42-17. I think they're going to beat. I think
they're pissed off.
They're pissed off. They got a little bit of taste like, hey, is the season over in terms of like playoffs? Yes. Yeah. But they're still fighting for pride. I think they come out pissed off.
Yeah.
They felt like they deserved to win yesterday.
They did. They should have won that game.
I feel like they beat Syracuse pretty easily.
Yeah, that 4-0 record that Syracuse has isn't going to mean much. Again, they haven't really beaten anybody.
Mississippi State was 2-1.
Yeah, Syracuse hasn't beat anybody to write home about. Yeah. So, I'm going to go Clemson big, and I'm going to say South Carolina squeaks one out.
Who would have thought South Carolina and Clemson have the same record?
I don't think that's helping Clemson fans mentally right now as well. Like they're going through what they're going through, but the fact that South Carolina's sitting at the same place that they are, and the thing is, the two losses that the Gamecocks have, you could have won both of those games.
Yeah,
you just didn't execute enough, and lack of depth got us in Georgia. If we beat Tennessee, I could see South Carolina rolling off some wins here.
Because we got
to play well on defense.
You agree? Yeah, because we got Tennessee, then we got the bye week. Gives us 2 weeks to prepare for Florida,
right?
Which I still don't get why they're ranked.
I
I think it's
it was
just
when they beat Tennessee.
like as I've gotten older, like I get people's like at the national level and some media like the bias the SEC gets
Right.
sometimes. There's no reason Florida should be ranked.
No. I mean, they didn't play extremely well last night either. I mean, they were.
They played Charlotte.
Yeah, and it was a close game for a while. Or I don't even know what the final score ended up being, but I know it was like a touchdown game at one point.
They won 22-7.
Yeah, I mean, it was 16-7, I think, going in, middle third quarter, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, so definitely not a. Then we got Missouri. I hate Missouri.
Missouri's always
a thorn in our side.
No matter how good or bad they are, it's like they always play well.
But it's like
us.
when they first got in the SEC, we never lost to them.
Right.
And like we were dominating. Now it's just vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, Clemson rebounds this week. Carolina continues to, I guess you could say,
this is a big
roll.
game for South Carolina, I think, because
I think it's a big game for both teams.
Yeah, the season could hinge, and it's tough to say that in the fifth game of the year, but you are kind of almost halfway through the season.
I think this is more of a impact game for Clemson than South Carolina.
For sure, yeah. I mean, South Carolina, if they do lose to a ranked Tennessee, you can still accomplish what you want to this season.
Going 2-3 in our first 5 games, looking at it from preseason.
Yeah.
I think I would take.
Yeah, I would definitely take 3-2 though.
Yes, I would love to have it
Clemson
as
falling
well.
to 2-3 could be disastrous.
Yeah. People might start calling for Dabo's head.
Yeah,
is Dabo on the hot seat?
Because this Syracuse, if he loses to Syracuse, it's not, like I said, that schedule is not getting any easier for them. They
Which
still
is
got
not
Miami,
something-
North Carolina, Notre Dame.
And that's not something you're used to saying about Clemson.
Right, yeah.
Where it's like, because
Usually
they're so
they
good.
have the schedule that, like, if they're struggling, they still have the teams that they can take advantage of. But this
Yeah.
year it's not. I mean, like I said, Syracuse is 4-0.
Yeah.
Then you got Wake Forest. Yeah, they got shellacked yesterday, but they're still 3-1. You got
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina. I mean, South Carolina is looking like they're pretty good, or decent.
It's crazy to think, whereas like there's nothing really separating
Right.
us.
Yeah.
Whereas like 4 years ago there was a lot separating us.
Yeah, I would say South Carolina's got the better quarterback.
Yeah. And more experience.
I would say Clemson has a better defense for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I think Cade Klubnik is going to be fine.
Yeah, he's going to be
but
good.
it's like I think people need to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Clearly Clemson's going through a different phase right now where it's like, we talk about this all the time on all our shows, but it's true. But it's just a different landscape in college football, and I really just think Dabo is struggling to adjust to it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you don't have the benefit of redshirting players for 2 years and not
Gotta
play.
play
You got to play them, and you got to find. But Clemson did pretty good with utilizing their receivers yesterday, even without Antonio Williams.
Yeah. I think they're going to be fine. I think that they bounce back this week, but man, if they don't, whew.
Yeah,
It could
there's
get
going to
ugly.
be some
It could get ugly.
upset
Yeah.
Tiger fans, and
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah. I think that's a noon game for them.
It's 12 o'clock, yeah.
12 o'clock game again. So
Yeah.
I like that. I
What
get to
is
watch
that?
them. I don't
Like,
know.
I honestly, dude, I think I'd be more inclined to go to Carolina games if they were noon games or early
Yeah.
games.
Get it over with. Get me home.
I was following on I was just scrolling on Twitter yesterday, and I think it was like 4 hours. I was telling you about this last night. People were already stuck in traffic 5 hours before game time.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No.
Nothing
thanks.
irritates me more than slow traffic, but slow traffic in Columbia on game day
Yeah.
is the absolute worst.
And then it's at almost midnight and you're stuck in traffic. That's even that's terrible.
It's like freight in the tank. They're incompetent.
Yeah.
The highway patrol when they do those traffic. I don't get it. Like I don't understand how you've been doing it for so long and you can't figure out a more. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say.
Efficient way to do
Yes.
it. Get the traffic out. Yeah.
God,
It's terrible. All right, we got some tweets to look at.
hit us up, Zeb.
Alright. Let's see what we got. Which one do you want first?
Throw it. Surprise us.
Colorado overhyped. I don't think Colorado's overhyped. I think they played a team that was just way better than them.
Here's the thing, and we kind of talked about this. I think they were not overhyped, and I think this is just the downside of media. But you have a very polarizing coach
Right.
who he has. It's not like he's changed overnight.
Right.
He's been like this his entire professional career. His
He's
players
been like
feed
this
off.
since when he was at Florida State.
His players feed off of it, and there's
Right.
nothing wrong with
No.
that. But they were not overhyped. But the positions you can't really address in the portal
Right.
are your offensive and defensive lines. Where
Yeah.
when you have to overhaul them the way he's having to overhaul their roster,
Yeah.
there's nothing like, and it's more so in the media. Like they beat I guess you could say a decent TCU game in a shootout.
Right.
Nebraska's not good at all.
No.
They were over 3 touchdown favorite. Colorado State had to come back and
Barely
beat them.
won that one. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying in the preseason or even now they are miles ahead than what they were last year.
Yeah, for sure.
But the media just feeds off of it because it's like,
It's prime.
yeah, it's just like how ESPN doesn't shut up about the Cowboys. But that's what draws attention.
Right, exactly.
And
it
so,
gets the clicks because people want to hear about Prime, and they're 3-0. So at the time, they're winning these games.
And could you say they were one of the better teams in the country? Yeah. But
Right.
now you're starting to see once they're getting to the meat of their schedule,
The tough
they're
teams.
not what they thought they were. And there's nothing wrong with that.
they are where they're ahead of what they should be, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to see that because they just got demolished.
Shellacked.
So
I mean, everybody, like,
they won one game last year, and he's already
Tripled
tripled
it.
what
Yeah.
they won last year.
Yeah,
So
and I mean-
yeah, he's going to take on a top team in Oregon, a top team in USC. Like
Yeah.
they're going to lose those games.
yeah, they've got Washington.
They were going to lose those games before they
Yeah.
ever, started the season.
Yeah.
Like you looked at their schedule, you could go ahead and say, yes, loss to these,
Yeah.
top tier teams. And that's fine though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a rebuild. And from his perspective, like a complete rebuild. I mean, they
Yeah.
pretty much took the entire Colorado team and
Yeah.
left and brought in pretty much,
I mean, he said,
a
y'all
whole
aren't-
new team.
Paraphrasing, he's like, y'all aren't going to be here.
Right.
I'm bringing in some luggage.
Bring him on.
And it was like Gucci.
And it's Gucci.
Yeah. And, but another thing is it was a very hot topic on Twitter yesterday where it's like, it's okay. Like the thing is when, and I was listening to a podcast late last night, this morning, when you're as cocky as they are, and again, there's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
but people pray for your downfall.
Yeah.
Because like when you have a coach like that and you have the media talk about them nonstop, incessantly, people are going to be, and it could be just about anything.
Yeah.
But people are going to want to see them fail.
Yeah.
And I think this was more of a, excuse me, more of a wake up call. Like they're moving in the right direction, but they still have a big chunk that they need to fill, and that's going to take a couple years to get.
Yeah. And here's the thing: I don't mind what Oregon's coach was doing. Like
No.
his job is to fire his players up and get them.
He did
prepared to play the
exactly
game.
what
Yeah.
Dion did the previous 3 weeks.
Videos for that.
Yeah, and we'll play the video, but
Yeah.
he did and nobody can hate on Dan Lanning for saying
No.
they're here for clicks. He's doing the exact same thing that
Right.
Dion did.
Exactly.
So if you
And then-
if you don't like what Dan Lanning said, then you can't like what Dion
Dion's doing.
said.
Yeah.
And again,
You got it.
we're about to play it. Pause it real quick, Zeb. The one thing I will say, and I guess critique, he knew what he was doing. He allowed them to come into the locker room to
Yeah.
see this. Okay, sorry. I just
But
wanted
I
to
don't
say.
mind that either because see, Dion does it too.
Yeah.
And if these coaches want to do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
So go ahead, play it.
Rooted in substance. Today, we talk with our pads. You're talking your helmet, right? Every morning. The Cinderella story is over, man. Right? They're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins. There's a difference. Right? There's a difference. Right? This game ain't gonna be played in Hollywood, it's gonna be played on the grass. Right? It's gonna be played on the grass. Let's go.
I don't mind it at all.
I like
mean,
it.
he did what his job is to fire his players up.
Yeah.
If you give them bulletin board material,
Yeah.
they used it, and the thing is, they went out on the grass like he said, and they
Yeah.
proved it. I mean,
Well, I did see this, and I don't know how out there it is, but because Colorado went from the angle of Nebraska disrespected us because their coach or whoever walked on our logo on the
Yeah.
50-yard line. There's videos of Colorado players doing that to Oregon,
Right.
Which again, there's nothing wrong with that, but like if you're going to be okay with this, and not even just Dion or Coach Sanders
Yeah.
or Colorado. But if you're going to be okay with one team doing it, you can't then be upset when another team does it.
Right. Yeah, I
That's the
agree.
thing, and that's it seems to be an issue.
And the thing is, if you're going to talk, back it up.
Yeah.
And if you can back it up, you can keep talking.
yeah, when you talk the talk and you can't walk the
Right.
walk, it's going to get
And
magnified.
the thing is like Dion, he's also good at this. It's like he came out after the game and he said, "Guess what? That was a good old fashioned." Go ahead. There you go.
No, they don't make it tough on our team.
I'm gonna start wearing sunglasses during the shows.
If I played against every coach I played against, we would be totally dominant. Yeah, I wasn't lying. I didn't. It translates in practice. It is. I don't say stuff just to say it for a click. Contrary to what somebody say. But yeah, I keep receipts. But I'm serious. I analyze and I understand what we're up against and what we have and what we need. One thing that I can say honestly and candidly, you better get me right now. This is the worst we're going to be. You better get me right now. That's somebody, yeah, I got messengers. God bless him though, man. He's a great coach. He did a great job. God bless him. He take their shots. They won. I don't shoot. I don't do that. They won.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what he said. You better get us now because they're going to be good.
Yeah, but
just because of who he is. And again, everything like he said, it comes off as like it sounds like he's coming for clicks because when Dion talks because
Yeah.
it just gets the clicks.
Yeah.
Just because of who he is.
Yeah.
But I think that everything that he says, even though it sounds like it's clickbaitish, it's just who he is, and
Yeah.
that's truly what he's saying. You know, to his team or
Yeah.
about his team, and
Yeah.
that's truly how he feels. It's not like some game that he's
Yeah.
playing to, generate views.
Yeah.
That's just who Dion is.
And I think some people can view it as maybe a little bit of arrogance. I don't know. I don't view it that way. I personally, I don't know. Just looking at both of the videos, like I would love to have like my head coach to be like that.
yeah, I
Like-
don't. Both of them, what both of them did, I don't mind either.
Like
of
we
them.
didn't learn anything new about Colorado yesterday. We knew going in that their lines were
Right, yeah.
the big question mark for
Yeah.
them. We know they can make plays, but I mean, Shedeur Sanders has been running for his life.
Yeah, and I wonder, like
past couple weeks.
college football world stunned.
They were
Why-
3
why?
touchdown favorite.
Yeah, how? What are y'all stunned about?
They were 3 touchdown favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we knew Oregon was so much better. I mean,
Yeah.
but they should be.
Yeah.
They're a top 10 team.
I
They
think-
are more experienced. They have, they've been doing this.
I think we learned more about Colorado yesterday than we did. Or excuse me, we learned more about Oregon
Yeah.
yesterday than we did Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon is one of the best teams in the nation, top 10. I mean, they did what they should have done yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing stunning about it.
Yeah. And here's the thing, coaches don't have to like each other.
Yeah.
But I think that stuff is good because it, like, let's be honest, nobody really gave two snot, about the Pac-10.
Yeah,
Until-
and it's definitely driving people to watch these games now that
And
they
now-
weren't watching before.
But now the
because I saw, I don't,
Pac-10's ruined after this year.
yeah,
though.
I don't remember who it was. I should have said it, but somebody said that Dion, no matter how that game went, literally had y'all watching Colorado, Oregon instead
Mm-hmm.
of Ole Miss, Alabama. I mean, Ole Miss and Alabama were on at the same
if
time.
you could say that before the game, then once they started getting their butts cut, I think a lot of people cut it off. But
I
they're
did.
talking. But they're talking.
sure.
You could say they're talking more about
Yeah, there was definitely
this
more hype
matchup
about that
compared
game
to Alabama Ole Miss.
versus Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin game.
Where you could even one up it and say people stayed up till 10 p.m. last week
Right.
to watch Colorado
Play Colorado State, yeah, and people are staying up for that. So I mean, Dion's
did.
doing what he should for his program,
Yeah.
as well as the conference
Yeah.
that won't.
They're going to be fine.
anything.
Like they're clearly way better than what they were last year.
The thing is, how long does Dion stay at Colorado?
Yeah, but I don't know.
2 years,
But where's he going to go?
somewhere.
But
Not
I don't think he
Colorado.
would. It
Not Colorado.
He would have to leave for a big program. But the thing is,
It would have to be like an Auburn or somewhere like that.
who?
An Auburn,
We'll see. Auburn just hired Hugh Freeze. It's not going to be Florida State because Norvell.
right?
I know there's a lot of rumors when Georgia Tech fired their coach, but I don't think that ever came to anything.
I know the best fit for Dion would be Miami. It fits everything
He ain't going to Miami.
that he is.
He's a Seminole.
But they did him dirty, and he's been upset with Florida State ever since then when they hired Norvell instead of him.
But I mean, you also, I
He
get it.
he came out and he talked about it, how he felt disrespected by his
I get
own
it, but
place.
it's like, wow. It's easier to look at it now in retrospect because like he's been a successful head coach so far. But I'm sorry, like you're
At the time they made
nobody's
that-
just going to give you.
Yeah.
that would be. I don't even. No major university would do that.
Right. At the time when they did it, yeah, it made sense. But to him personally, it didn't, and he's felt that way.
Get it?
But just the
But guess what?
historical
Money talks.
Yeah, just how historical. But I think that right now, Florida State, they're not going to be in a position where they fire their coach. Even though
No.
Miami's undefeated right now, they're
This is Cristobal's second season.
yeah. I'm saying it's going to be a few years. He's going to be at Colorado for at least 3 years, I think. But
Yeah.
Miami, just of who they were, historically,
Yeah.
just the brand that they have, fits exactly what he is as a person and a coach.
Yeah.
And you pair that together in the state of Florida and the recruiting that he
Mm-hmm.
could do, I think Miami would be a perfect fit for Dion.
Yeah. I don't know how you can be upset. Like I get it, but I don't get it. Like you've got somebody that was never a head coach.
Yeah, but
Excuse
I
me,
think for Dion, the way that he felt is like he's succeeded in everything that he's done. He knows football, and obviously he proved
But that
it.
doesn't
He
always
proved-
translate to coaching, though.
But it did.
I
That's
know,
the
but
thing.
you
Is
can-
like
but you can
that's the
say-
thing with Dion is he says like everything that I say I stand on and I prove it, and it has.
but you can say that.
yeah, but
now.
you can't blame Florida State.
No, but like he could have say Florida State did hire him, and
Right.
he ended up not working out.
Yeah, I'm saying to him, just as an individual person,
Yeah.
to feel disrespected, knowing who he is,
Yeah.
and then what he could do. I don't blame him for feeling disrespected by his alma mater because he has always been successful. I don't blame Florida State for not
Yeah.
hiring him either.
Just 'cause
I don't
you're-
think there was anybody at fault in that situation. I just don't blame him for
Yeah,
feeling
I
that
mean,
way.
just 'cause you're
and I think it would be
successful.
great if he went to Miami instead of Florida State.
Yeah, but again, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
It'll have to be something like he's not going to stay at Colorado.
I guarantee you, Florida State decided to fire Mike Norvell in 4 years, and he calls them, he'd go.
Probably.
Money talks.
Yeah,
Everybody has
probably.
a price.
Yeah.
So if they're like, we're going to pay you $6 million a year to come coach, I'm sorry, I don't
What's
think
Colorado paying?
I don't think your pride is going to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Let's see what he's making.
I mean, I think it would take more than 6. I mean, they're paying Dabo 11.
We got 2 left.
What you got? While he looks that up.
Alvin and MK.
The national narrative will be how Dabo has lost it and FSU is the new king, but make no mistake, that was FSU's best shot at beating us with a perfect storm of transfers and a 6-year quarterback who won't be there next year. Tip your cap to them, but I still see growth in this team. Yeah, sure. I see growth in them, and maybe that would.
He's getting about $6 million a year at college. It's
Yeah.
5 years, $29.5 million.
Yeah, I think it would take more than 6.
Good gosh.
I don't think that was FSU's best shot at beating Clemson, though.
I think it was.
I mean, they're just going to reload. And Clemson, even though they're getting better, is like they're not what they were. They're just
No.
not.
But I don't know. It's
And the thing
it's
is,
a-
they went and did that at Clemson. So you're telling me that Florida State, if they get better next year and you got to go to Tallahassee,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to be a good shot at, like, Florida State is probably starting to get back to what they were years ago.
And like you said, it's a perfect storm of transfers.
And whose fault is that? That's Dabo's fault again for
I know.
not.
But-
I don't want to hear Clemson fans talk about transfers.
Yeah.
That's your coach's fault.
Yeah.
And that's fine if he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But don't use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Everybody else is taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And they're leaving you in the dust. That's his fault.
And I think this tweet was sent out like maybe immediately after the game. So like
An overreaction.
Your emotions are flowing.
Right.
But I mean, I agree with it to a certain degree. Just because Florida State hasn't in years past been that successful against
Right.
Clemson.
Tides are turning.
If I think if the game was at Florida State, I don't think it would have been as close. Maybe
No.
I don't know, but I mean, it was a great game.
Yeah. It was probably the best game of the day. I mean, that I watched. I think that Notre Dame Ohio State was
I
probably
wish
good
we
at
could
it
have
and catch
watched
all
that
that.
one too. I mean, honestly, the Alabama Ole Miss game was good.
Yeah, I thought Ole Miss was winning that game. Nick does it again.
Lane Kiffin just can't beat Nick Saban.
No. Everyone who is saying it was a bad play by Cade, please stop. There should have been zero option to throw the ball. Terrible play call. That's what we said earlier.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with this
Yeah.
tweet. It was still a bad play by Cade.
Yeah.
You can't say that it wasn't because it was a run pass option. He made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It was a bad play, but the overarching,
Theme.
there should have been, it should have never been called.
Yeah.
That should not have been the play call. It should
Yeah.
have been handed off.
It's more so.
Get the yard.
Yeah, it's more so on the coaching staff.
More so on the coaching staff. But at the end of the day, it was bad execution by the player. He should have just never been even given that play call.
Yeah, I agree.
And then not only is it a bad play call, it's bad on it. It always ends up, in those situations. Even though Dabo's not calling the plays, he has, he can veto
He's
the
got
play
the
call.
heads- he's got
and
the
he can say,
headset on.
"Hey, whoa, why are we calling this?" No,
Yeah.
scratch that or call a timeout, something,
Run
and
the
run
ball down their throat.
Yeah,
Run the ball.
You've been
down
able
their
to run the
throat.
ball
Yeah.
against them all game.
I don't think they.
I think they had over close to 150 yards. I know that each Maffa and Shipley had 60 plus yards each. So I mean, they were running the ball well. But in that situation, your best player is a running back.
They had 146 yards rushing.
Close to 150 yards. So in that situation, your best player and one of the best at that position.
Players.
Yeah, and one of the best in that position in the nation, and you don't give him the ball,
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Phil Maffa had 10.
And especially, here's the other thing, is like they were talking about on the broadcast, is that Riley comes from like the air raid system, that that's what he was brought up in, and now he calls this the dirt raid because they want to be more ground focused.
Yeah.
And then in the most critical moment and the most critical game of your season so far,
Yeah.
you throw it instead of running it on a 3rd and 1.
And I think he's still kind of learning himself as well.
Right, that's the other thing, is like this is legit the first time that he's been given the full reins
That
to
we
call
know
plays.
about.
Right.
That we know about.
I think because whenever he was at TCU, it was kind of a
I think anytime a head coach is known as an offensive specialist or a defensive specialist, and they are a head coach and they have a coordinator, I don't think those coordinators have free range to do whatever they want to.
well, Dabo ain't calling no plays.
But you know what I'm saying, but Dabo also wasn't, and like we said,
Yeah.
he wasn't like this guru of like
No. He's never called
He was
plays.
a wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
And there's again nothing wrong with that,
Right.
but it's like he probably gives more control because like he still probably game planned the
Right.
offensive schemes
Yeah.
when he was a position coach.
In
But,
that situation, Dabo has to make the call, whether not
Yeah.
necessarily what the play call is, but what the play is.
Yeah.
In terms of, are we running or throwing it here,
Yeah.
or are we giving an option? No. Hand the ball off.
Yeah.
Get the yard. If you don't, hand the ball off again, or do a quarterback sneak and just have Maffa and them just go right up Cade's
Yeah.
tail and push him for the yard.
Yeah.
And then you got a whole fresh set of downs. Instead, you put your young quarterback in a bad situation, and you basically gave him one route on that last play, which I know was a batted ball, so it wasn't making any difference
Yeah.
anyway. But
Yeah.
that whole series of events was just poorly handled,
Yeah.
poorly coached.
Agreed.
Again, when you call the plays, you expect the players to execute. Players didn't, but at the end of the day, it falls on the coach.
Would you rather lose a game like Clemson did yesterday, or just get the brakes beat off of you?
It's tough because if you're getting the brakes beat off of you, as you're watching the game, you pretty much emotionally detach from it.
I would rather do that though.
But when you play a game like that and you lose a game, you had a whole game where you saw good things that you can build off of.
Yeah.
So when you take a step back, maybe midweek and look at a game like that, you can see all the good things. When you're in it, you just want to be either winning or just being able to emotionally detach from
A family member of mine left his house, I think, around like 4 a.m. yesterday.
it. No.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'd want to get up that early,
4 a.m. for nothing.
drive to Clemson, and watch us lose like that.
Right.
And then have to.
I wouldn't want to get up at 4 a.m. and watch us get shellacked either, though.
No, but at least it's like, okay, well, maybe you can just leave.
Right.
You know, and get home early.
Exactly.
At
Beat the
least.
traffic.
Or it's like, but you get all the emotions built up in you, and then that happens, and it's just like.
What I don't understand, though, is like, because we talked about this last week.
I know Clemson's traffic is no better than South Carolina's after
Right.
the game.
They lost that game, and nobody, like, I thought they met at the Paul every game. Like, I didn't see the fans
They
rushing the
did.
field like they normally do.
It was Florida State.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Made at the Paul.
Hey, I just remember we talked about the rushing the
they're
field
having
and
fun.
You know,
They are
Clemson
having
fans
fun.
talks about, it's tradition, we've always done this, but you don't do it at a loss. I guess it's not tradition.
I
then.
saw a tweet where somebody said Oregon fans should have rushed the field yesterday.
The Oregon fans were probably gone before the end of the game. That thing was so out of hand.
Speaking of fans, like our student section at South
Terrible.
Carolina,
I don't understand it.
what they need to do is just shift the band back down,
Right.
and let people who actually want to be there
Yeah.
sit in those seats.
Yeah. It's always, especially in a game like that where it's close at the end.
Yeah.
You want the stadium to be as involved in the game. That's what home field's about. And when
Yeah.
half your student section just kicks
Yeah.
off halfway through the game.
And a lot of times they do it. I mean, when I was in school there, it's already tough enough to get the tickets.
Right.
And some people were just literally scanning.
And then walking away.
Yeah.
Because you just build the points or
Yeah.
however
and
it
it's
is.
and I know they have like an allotment in the upper deck on the east side.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was a little bit empty, which I feel like that side's always the south upper is usually pretty scattered.
You need your students there for the whole game.
And in the north end zone, they were there.
Yeah.
Just that little
That
corner
to the side where the band used to be, and they expanded it for students.
That's where I used to sit when I was in school there.
That you
Or
got to
stand.
stay.
Yeah.
You got to stay. Especially, I mean, I get it if it's like a 42-17 game or
Yeah.
something like that. Sure.
When these students say they're the best student section, one of the top student sections,
you got to be there in the critical
You got to be
moments.
there.
Yeah. So
And it's not all of them, but it's like that represents the students of the university,
Right.
and it's like that.
yeah. So hopefully, when Florida comes into town, there a little bit. Florida is a home game, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Students do better.
Like honestly, we've got Florida away.
Tennessee.
I'm
away.
sorry, excuse me. Tennessee away, Florida at home. Then we're at Missouri, at A&M, and then we've got 4 consecutive games at home: Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Clemson. So
Like I said, just to wrap this
our
up.
final 4,
Yeah.
our final 4 games are Tulsa or Vanderbilt's not. Excuse me.
Right.
We should win.
Most of those
Yeah.
easily.
Kentucky and Clemson are toss-ups.
Right. But this week, I think is some season swing games for both South Carolina and Clemson. If South Carolina can beat Tennessee, I can see us going on a pretty hot run here.
Yeah.
Especially when you get that bye week to then come back home to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as impactful if you lose to Tennessee as it would be if Clemson loses
yeah.
to Syracuse.
And another thing going for South Carolina, you just, especially last year, you didn't know which team was going to show up.
Right.
You can at least say you probably know what offense is going to show up.
Yeah. Just got to get better defensively.
Yeah.
And again, I think some of that could have been like Mississippi State just attacked us differently than they have attacked teams,
Yeah.
the first 3 games of the year. You just can't be getting beat
No.
that bad. Like I said, it's going to happen once, maybe twice a game, busted coverage.
It only
but-
happened like 6 times.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah.
I think South Carolina squeaks out a win, and I think Clemson wins big.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah.
So we appreciate everybody joining us.
We'll be back next week.
And maybe we'll talk about Dion again because you got to.
Yeah, I'm okay
I think
with
that they
it.
got Southern Cal this week, so
Yeah,
it's
they
not
got,
getting any.
but it's at Colorado.
Yeah, that'll be a big
which
game.
I don't think it's gonna. But you just never know because like,
Oh, one final thing about Colorado that I did not like,
oh boy,
and this is something I think Dion needs to, not publicly, address, but definitely as a coach. Your best player was out this week, and because of injury on a dirty hit.
Yeah.
That's fine. But as a player, when your team is playing and you're not in the game or
Yeah.
at the game, you should still be tuned into the game. Travis Hunter is streaming himself playing NBA 2K on Twitch in the middle of Colorado, just getting their like you're the guys that you
Yeah.
sweat and bleed with at practice every week are out
Yeah.
there, getting it handed to them, and you're just streaming live,
Yeah.
on Twitch. I don't like that at all, and that's something Dion definitely not publicly. There's no need to come out and
Yeah.
address that publicly, but that's something that he definitely needs to privately handle.
Yeah.
You got to get a grip on that.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, for sure. What did he was he streaming the whole game,
I just remember it was like during.
or is it like halftime?
I know that what someone posted, it was during halftime, but
Yeah.
you ain't jumping on there to stream for 10 minutes just to get back off.
Yeah.
So it was probably
Yeah. And I know he gets on Twitch a lot because I know he got on
That's
Twitch.
fine.
Yeah.
before the game, after
Yeah.
the game, that's fine. But
Yeah.
not when your guys are out there. Obviously it's not his fault that he wasn't in the game,
Yeah.
but let's have a little bit more self-awareness.
You never know. There's really no number one team I feel this year so far.
Nah.
So I mean, honestly, dude, it wouldn't surprise me if Colorado upsets USC this weekend.
No, I mean,
'Cause
Dion and them, they're definitely going to learn from
USC
this
does not
loss.
have a good defense.
Yeah. I still think it's going to be
I think
tough for
USC
Colorado.
wins, but it wouldn't surprise me if Colorado upsets
No,
them.
it's not going to surprise me if Colorado beats any of these teams because
Yeah.
Dion, he knows how to prepare his team to do, things that they probably
Yeah,
shouldn't.
he's a good motivator.
Right.
And I mean,
They do
that's
have
what
the
you-
athletes. Like I
Yeah.
said, it's just figuring out the best way to, scheme it up with their line play.
Yeah, and that's what the announcer said yesterday. It's like Dion and their OC have to go to like the drawing board to
Yeah,
figure
figure it
out
out.
a way to help. And I saw some people tweet like some of the sacks were on Shador, but he's going to learn that.
Right, yeah.
Like I mean, he was a top recruit coming out of high school, but this is his first year playing
Yeah.
legit
Teams, yeah.
college football.
Right.
You say what you want about like Jackson State, but like
Yeah.
they were clearly better than half the competition they played last year, and
Yeah.
that's not the case this year.
Right, yeah.
So like
They're
he's
learning.
he's learning. It's a
They'll-
lot quicker.
Yeah. They'll progressively get better. They're just going to go through a gauntlet here.
Yeah. That's what Mario Anderson said. Last thing before we leave, he was
Yeah.
like, "That's something he struggled with.
Right, the speed of the game just
The
getting
like the mental aspect
Right.
of playing at this level."
South Carolina versus playing at a Newberry. But he looked good. Hopefully he looks good this week against Tennessee. South Carolina will play Tennessee 7:30 Saturday night. Clemson plays at Syracuse.
I think on ABC at 12.
Noon. So we'll be back next week to recap those games. Hopefully it's a Gamecock win. I'm not going to say I hope Clemson wins. For the sake of their fans, we got some friends that are Clemson fans. They need some.
Might try and get them on.
Yeah.
Trying to get them on.
Join us next week. We'll see you then.
See y'all.